Hotel brothers and sisters, as y'all know, or if you don't know, this is the 10th anniversary, 10th year of Michael's Ascension by way of murder. For those who know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to briefly explain that while we enjoy and pay homage to the brother. What really started the whole entire process and the orders for Mike's murder, number one, because he was one of the richest brothers on the planet. Even as a young child, Mike knew how to manage money. He was way ahead of his time. He came with the energy that was passed down to him from a brother named Frankie Lyman. And Frankie Lyman made his ascension when Michael Jackson came on the scene. And as a matter of fact, for those who know Frankie Lyman, knows that their songs early on in Michael's career were similar. You know, the ABCs and this popcorn love type bubblegum kiddie songs that both of them made. Rockin' Robin and Little Bitty Pretty One and the ABCs of Love and Why Do Fools Fall in Love, and they had the same type of energy. They both were phenomenal dancers as well as phenomenal singers. And so when Mike split up from the Jackson 5 and went on his own, he began recording his own music, recording his own albums, which Thriller is the all-time selling album of all time. You know, along with Off the Wall and so many other songs, great songs that this brother brought to the planet. And at the same time became a real shrewd businessman. He would not allow anyone in terms of those crackers to run over him. Mike called his own shots. But as a result of having vitiligo at early on, which is a skin disease, he began to do skin bleaching. He wasn't real heavy into the skin bleaching. However, with the vitiligo, he began to become light-skinned, losing his outer coating of melanin on his skin. So that's what took place, because he wore a lot of makeup and he was very self-conscious about that, because he didn't want to be a two-tone brother, and I don't blame him for that, especially being in the under the gun, under the microscope in terms of the media, because he never had any peace. Everyone was in Mike's business, wondering who was he going with, who was he fucking, what was he doing. So many rumors, from the Elephant Man's bones to sleeping in a dehydration chamber and a whole bunch of other things. But one thing that he wasn't was a pedophile. Now, sleeping with these boys, he shouldn't have never done. Never done. Never done. Also, why didn't Mike deal with black children? Why was it always white children? And so, initially when he was first charged with these crimes, I was like, that's good for him, because he forgot where he came from. Knowing these crackers had it out for him. They've always had it out for him. When he bought the Beatles catalog, He bought the Sony catalog, excuse me, and the Beatles. He owned all the Beatles music. And so Paul McCartney, who's a racist from London, the Beatles were racist. So let's not get it confused. And John Lennon was killed because John Lennon refused to hate blacks like the rest of them did. So when Mike wouldn't sell Paul McCartney the Beatles songs back, that's when they fell out. They did 2 videos together prior to that falling out. And so Paul McCartney ran a smear campaign against Mike too. And this is after Mike made him a multi-millionaire from the videos and songs that they produced together. Showed you how the cracker is. And so by owning half of the Sony catalog, which was worth well over $2 billion, you know, owning 50% of the catalog, meaning everything that Jay-Z, Beyonce, Chris Brown, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Maya, Marvin Gaye, DMX, Usher, Whitney Houston, everything that they done, Mike got 50%. And that went for commercials too that had music to them. And so the white executives, those crackers at Sony, which Tommy Mottola was CEO at the time. He's Tommy Mottola, who's a fucking guinea, a linguine eating motherfucker who doesn't like black people. Went on Mike, tried to extort him, tried to scare him. And this is when Mike held the press conference and called Tommy Mottola a white devil. And so this was the time where they were putting the orders in for Mike. And what a better time. By that time, stemming from the Pepsi Cola commercial where Mike's head was burnt, Mike had an addiction to painkillers. And so when you are addicted to opioids, and these crackers want to get rid of you, it is very easy for them to overdose your ass, and everybody will think you just simply overdose. And so this wasn't the case with Michael Jackson. However, a lot of people do not know that Michael Jackson was beaten to death. I have the official photos that were entered in the Conrad Murray trial, showing how Mike was beat up, stomped, hole in his chest, you know, nose broken, how he was so busted up, knees busted up and scraped up. And the sheriff in that town, by him keeping his mouth shut, because he was the first one that found the bloody shirt that Mike was beaten in. And so he was granted a job at the CIA, making 4 times his salary as a sheriff in that town. So this is, and Conrad Murray was just a fall guy, whose ever job it was to administer the propofol was the one who was going to jail. Conrad Murray, being greedy that he is, he's a greedy nigga. He has a whole bunch of clients that are entertainers and athletes and stars. And when Mike picked him, that was the worst day of Conrad Murray's life, because he had to be quiet, because Conrad Murray knew what really took place. That's why he cried at the trial, because he had to stand up there and lie, or his family would have been taken out. And they would have set it up to make it look like a crazed fan went after Conrad Murray and murdered him. So, you know, this thing was set up. Every inch was set up. And now, he's sentenced to 4 years in the county jail. Now, you accuse of manslaughter for the greatest entertainer on the planet. How is it that you end up in a dirty-ass county jail for 4 years with no visits and no phone calls and being on protective custody? Because they did not want to take a chance on Conrad Murray opening his mouth or sneaking in an interview telling the truth as to what happened to Mike. So they threatened to take his family, kill his children if he didn't follow these instructions, which he still follows today. So now, the Jackson brothers, who were all in on this, even though Mike was taking care of all his brothers, even after their careers were done, they had been washed up. And they were getting allowances where the allowances would pay for all their expenses. You know, the house notes, if any, spending cash for the children, for his brothers, for his nieces and nephews. And, you know, Randy, by him being an addict and an alcoholic, was just not satisfied with being taken care of. So he makes up this far-fetched lie about Mike owed him money. How could it be that Michael Jackson owes Randy Jackson some money? That don't even make fucking sense. But anyway, Randy, drunk as a motherfucker, high off the motherfucking yay, drives his vehicle, his truck, through Michael's gate. And Mike could have had him doing time, could have had him locked up and placed on a work camp where he would have been raped repeatedly, almost nearly daily. So, you know, these are the things that happened to Mike. The autopsy photo where they cut Mike, took his brain out of his head, took his heart, took all of his organs, placed him in a mausoleum, knowing the emotional level was going to be in hyperspace at Mike's service. Now, we all know that those are not his children. I don't care how you try to make it appear that they are. They're not his children. Because a brother cannot be with a white woman and they end up with blonde-haired white babies. That's impossible. It's impossible. You know, but so what happened was Mike wanted something to call his own. And like I said, Mike had a lot of self-hatred in him. A lot of self-hatred. But nevertheless, he was phenomenal. He was a musical genius. Way ahead of his time. And don't get me wrong, Mike knew about black consciousness opposed to his brothers who didn't know. And I know this for a fact because the elder Bruce Bridges, Dr. Bruce Bridges, used to go and link up with the Jacksons, Tito and Marlon. And Dr. Bridges said they knew nothing about any of their black heroes and sheroes. And so Mike knew. Mike was conscious. That's why he made Remember the Time, where Eddie Murphy, Magic, and all them, they were dressed and they took it back to the pyramids, the Giza pyramids. Very, very powerful video. And so this what made Michael. And the night before 9/11, I believe it was September the 10th, 2001, at the 30th anniversary of Michael Jackson, Mike was high off the propofol and was in a stupor. And they had to go get Mike from the hotel across the street in New York so he could perform. And he did a phenomenal performance along with Chris Tucker, Usher, Maya, and a lot of the brothers and sisters in the black community. And you know, the concerts that he performed, because the This Is It was to be 50 shows, which would have been physically impossible for Mike to complete. See, that's why they called it This Is It. They knew he would not be able to do 50 straight shows. 50 moonwalks. You know, it just was impossible physically at this point in age of Michael's life. And so, by them knowing this, EIG sued Michael Jackson's estate because Mike was murdered before the concerts even took place. And so it was a lot of things that took place that, you know, a lot of you all may not know about, that I will explain to you all, you know, at a later time. But be mindful that Mike was powerful. Mike was not an ass kisser. Extremely gifted on the dance floor. Extremely gifted. No one could do this better than Mike. No one. You can get all of the dancers and rappers and singers that you want. None of them will be of equal to Michael Jackson. They tried everything, even when Thriller came out, by Mike being a Jehovah's Witness. After the Jehovah's Witness got millions from him and his mother, Catherine, then they banned this song from being played at in New York. In California. This is the contradictory with this. They took the money, they took the millions of dollars that Mike gave to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but he couldn't perform like he wanted to. So, you know, I hope that you all are getting something out of this. And the thing about Mike, he believed in all of the pioneers of music, the black pioneers of music. He wanted them to be recognized and honored and their families taken care of. Because a lot of these brothers and sisters passed on penniless with nothing. You know, Mike looked out for a lot of people. A lot of people. Little Richard was broke, down and out. Mike gave Little Richard his songs back out of the Sony catalog. And so Little Richard made off the break, he made about $4 million. And that got him out of the hole, that got him situated straight again. You know, Mike was just that type of person. But my thing with Mike was, why do you keep hugging on these motherfucking crackers? Keep hugging on these cracker babies. You know, you need to embrace people that look like you, or people that look like you used to look. So, we want to honor Michael Jackson. aside from his shortcomings and flaws, which we all have, we still need to honor Michael Jackson, because once again, he was murdered. You know, he was murdered. The goons from Sony, with orders strictly and straight from Tommy Mottola, they came in there in the middle of the night in the wee hours and beat Michael Jackson to death. So, he still has unreleased music. His music will go down in the history books forever. 100 years from now, Michael Jackson will still be relevant for the work that he's put in. You know, now, I try to encourage all of us to get involved with our ancestors, because they were warriors. They were kings and queens and gods. And we need to stop selling them out, selling the ancestors so cheap. So that's enough out of me for right now. I'll be coming back with y'all with part 2 to the ex-offender situation. But I needed to get this out of the way because Mike was a powerful, important brother. And this homicide should have never taken place had people been in their correct positions. So I'll be getting with you all later. And as always, brothers and sisters, Hotep, Black Power.